Nitro is dead. Crown crack, legacy bled. But the real ones rise from the dirt. Kevin Impact, Nick kicking in, legends alert.
Nitro is dead.
Body cold on the pavement.
Fake throne empty.
No more enslavement. Them back crashing waves. Demolition pavement.
Nick kicking in, shadow strike, lethal engagement. Nitro is dead.
Echo in the graveyard.
Heavy beats dropping.
We playing it hard.
Legends eternal. Bars never fade.
Impact and kicking in.
Forever remain.
Kevin Impact, step in the ring. Feel the quake. Don't flop days, body and foes. No mistake. Punchlines land like earthquakes. Shake the foundation. From Pikeville roots to UK domination. Bleak try to clash. Got buried in the verse. Dialect duck, but Impact made it worse. Aggressive flow, no mercy. Straight carnage.
Every bar a barrage, leave them
He
damaged.
built from the basement. Ciphers to stages. No gimmicks, just rage. Breaking out cages. When Nitro flex, fake Impact. Shut the gate. One round, one kill. Legends fate. Heavy 808 pound. While the crowd go insane.
Kevin reload, bring the pain. Nitro is dead. Body cold on the pavement. Throne empty.
No more enslaving.
Impact pressing green.
Demolition pavement.
Nick kicking in, shadow strike, lethal engagement. Nitro is dead.
Echo in the graveyard.
Heavy beats dropping.
We playing it hard.
Legends eternal. Bars never fade. Impact and kicking in. Forever remain. Remain.
They're kicking in, phantom in the mist, ghost mode activated. Silent killer calculated, never hesitated. Metaphors twisted like barbed wire fences. Underground menace, defenses defenseless. Strike from the shadows, precision incision. Leave ops wishing they never made the decision. No spotlight, hunger, but the skill make them shiver.
Pikeville,
Cold heart, deliver the liver. We want in a cipher, anime, soul, hockey grit. Counter every move, make the whole scene quit.
Nitro talk loud, but the legends stay quiet. Now the thrones calling. Nick rising defiant.
Heavy bass rumble while the spins creep slow.
Kicking in strike, watch the body hit the floor.
Nothing tried to rain, but the fire went out. Fake kings crumble when the real come about. Kevin smashing forward, Nick.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a new thing that we're going to talk about. Now, this is a huge episode for episode 20. I kind of feel like that this episode is going to hit more, personally, to me, because I was a huge fan of Dolly Parton. So I hope you guys, enjoy this for Nitro is Dead. Also, episode 21 later on today, we're going to be talking about the two people that died recently right after Dolly Parton. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into this, and I hope you guys enjoy. Welcome to episode 20 of Nitro is Dead. Historic 20 episodes later that, we turn Nitro is Dead, into a call wrestling podcast. Now we turn it into a celebrity podcast. The Dolly Parton she was more than a legendary icon. She had a heart of gold. She was everything that a celebrity should be. She always had, a down-to-earth personality. I mean, she wasn't like, everybody out that is doing celebrity in the world. And the first opening question, for the chat here is this, and I'm going to send the what makes a song become more just a song and become a memory? Getting on this topic of Dolly Parton, um, I remember, her famous song, Jolene, 9 to 5, a coat of many colors, a lot of great songs in her days as Darley, this legendary icon that, we have now passed away. Getting back on that, we're going to discuss Dolly's songs, and here's the thing that was her songs, and I'm gonna try to put this down in the chat here. I don't know if you guys can. Here's some of her songs, guys. I try to post it up here. The Coat of Many Colors. Of course, you had Jolene. You had I Will Always Love You and My Tennessee Mountain Home. These were the inspirations of Dolly. And also the 9 to 5. Let's not forget that one. I forgot to put that one in. 9 to 5 was absolutely one of the greatest songs that she ever performed. And losing her, it's going to rip a part of me out, because this was my childhood. This was my inspiration to look up to be just like her and try to be positive when everything else is going straight to hell. She always made everything positive, and she always took care of her fan base. The thing that I loved about Dolly she said one of the episodes that I was watching recently, and she said this, and it kind of shocked me that Dolly would say something like this. I went back, I had to study a little bit. It kind of shocked me in a way that Dolly said this, and quote, that we need to not judge people. Just accept them who they are, and love them. And a true quote like that coming from Dolly, a music legend, an icon, a woman that will go down in history as one of the greatest golden hearts of the country music era. I mean, she pretty much had a golden heart. And the reason why that I say she had a golden heart, I mean, you look at what she done, for the music business. Look what she done to her fan base. Look what she done for the community that, made us be a Dolly Parton fan. I remember, as a kid, and you see this in the background here with the Dollywood. I remember as a kid, taking a field trip and going to Dollywood. And at the time, I didn't know that Dolly Parton owned that. It kind of brought back good memories to that, once I learned that growing up. But at the time, I did not know that she owned Dollywood, which was, something that I had to literally say, wow, Dolly actually, well, it kind of makes sense. Dollywood, Dolly, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that she loved. She loved kids. You can see right there. She absolutely loved, putting a smile on kids' faces. And the greatest thing is the greatest quote, and it has it on here, guys. And this right here is one of my favorite quotes of Dolly, and I'm thankful that I got this quote right in here with the Nitro is Dead episode. Like I said, one of my favorite quotes that Dolly has ever said in her entirety. And it says, you will never do a whole lot unless you're brave enough to try. And that's by Dolly Parton. That is a true quote, 100%. And it hits 100% because, Dolly, to me, Dolly was a inspiration music artist that cared about her fan base. She cared about the music industry. She didn't care if you was LGBTQ. She didn't care if you was straight. She didn't care if you had different skin colors, like Caucasian, African American, Hispanic, Asian, whatever the case may be. She loved you for who you are. She didn't judge. And we could take a lot of playbook out of Dolly Parton's playbook here. I kind of feel like that, a lot of people, in today's society, they don't have the heart or the personality that Dolly had. Dolly had a heart of gold. She, had that heart to forgive. That and in today's society, that's kind of hard, And seeing that she made an inspiration, in the music industry, and when her career was young, she took herself to the top, and I mean, she absolutely took herself and wrote her a big name that will go down as one of the best. And going back on this, and we go back to, this opening here. Dolly simply, the song's a countdown. Her music remained meaningful for so many people. And three major themes: the music, the memories, the legacy. The music, the songs and songwriting performances. The memories, how the songs attach to people, places, and moments. The legacy, why an artist's influence can continue long after a particular song becomes a hit. Discussion questions. What makes a song more than just a song and become a memory? That same question. Tonight, we're going to look back where the story began. The beginning of Dolly's music journey. We talk about, Dolly's early life. She explored the ideal that children often absorb music before they understand the business of the music. She was an Appalachian influence. Now, if you guys are in the Appalachian Mountains, you're going to learn a lot. She's Tennessee, Kentucky, that tri-state area, Appalachian, where the Appalachian Mountains is. She grew up here. And, she basically contributed to the sounds and storytelling traditions associated with her music. Folk traditions, country music, mountain music, storytelling, family singing. Her dream was to talk about ambition to require to move from a small town upbringing towards a professional music career. And, going back to Dolly's, the music behind everything, that I'm going to try to get this 9 to 5. Nine to 5 is pretty much, it discussed the song's relationships with working life and pop culture. Workplace frustrations, ambition, human empowerment, pop crossover, film connection. She touched on this subject, when she sung that song, but also going back to Jolene, talking about instant recognizable title, dramatic storyline, vocal delivery, emotional tension, simplicity, longevity. She hits those topics in that song. There's a lot of songs here that she has made unforgettable memories in the music culture. And, going back on this, I may just do another, like I said, I may just do another episode, for the other passing legends that we had. And me and DJ will probably do a back-to-back episode. You never know. Or we may do it tomorrow. Never know what episode you might see here on episode 21 for Nitro is Dead. But going back on his, her songs became memories. Personal segments includes childhood, family, road trips, holidays, celebration, heartbreaks. And she focused on these during her music career. And going back on her music career, her legendary collaborations, there's going to be some people that I name here that, if you really truly are a Dolly Parton fan, you will understand that she's got to collab with, one of the greatest, I would say one of the greatest country music artists in the world. One of my favorites, Kenny Rogers. She done that with Kenny Rogers. She basically done that with Kenny Rogers. She basically revolutionized the industry to its new heights. I mean, you take a look at Dolly and what she's done, especially for the music industry. And Dolly has done a lot. I mean, Dolly has literally, I don't know if you guys, remember, these songs that I've done, 9 to 5 was a good song. There's some songs in the chat that I'm going to rename. Codamila Colors, Jolene, I Was Always Love You, My Tennessee Mountain Home. She was a inspiration to the Appalachian, heritage of Appalachian folk tradition. And, being an Appalachian guy myself, that loves professional wrestling, my heart goes out to her, if she has kids and if she had a family, my heart goes out to that family because, losing somebody that made an inspiration throughout all the music industry and all the pop culture is what they call it. There's a lot of and going back to the Dollywood thing, I'm going to speak about this. So, okay. So, going back to Dollywood, how Dollywood became a part of the story. We're going to talk about that because, you guys can see Dollywood, in the picture here. I want to try to get this out. So, and this is actually something that I want to actually do for the channel too. I mean, for, this thing too. So bear with me as I get this set up here. So, okay, how Dollywood became a part of the story. Dollywood wasn't simply created as a random theme park. The story of the park developed through different stages before becoming Dollywood people recognize today. We're going to literally discuss the importance of Dolly becoming involved and bringing her name, vision, and creative identity to the project. How the park combines, Don't know if you guys actually been to Dollywood, but I would recommend going. Very good theme park. I've been to it. It's a very good theme park. I mean, they have water. My favorite, rides at Dollywood when I was a kid actually going was, the water parks. I would love to go on. I think it was a log ride. They had a log that you literally, it was like a roller coaster, but you went in deep water, and like literally every time you went on that, you would get wet. I mean, it was just one of those things that, as a kid, you didn't give a crap if you get sick or not. And, your parents, of course, would be like, oh, you don't need to be doing that. You're just going to get sick. I was a rebel child. I wouldn't listen to my parents. I'd be like, yeah, let's not listen to them. I'm just going to get wet anyways. Anyways, going back to this, the park combines live entertainment, attraction, food, crafts, festivals, family experiences. Regional identity, how the park incorporates Appalachian and Smoky Mountain themes. Why Dolly's name on a destination creates expectation beyond rides. And the question I want to ask here to the chat, if you guys are still watching, simple question. Get ready. It's getting ready to pop up here, so I want you guys to be active and be interactive here in the chat. We're about ready to show it off. 3, 2, 1, boom. What makes Dollywood different from simply being another theme park? What if you guys have ever been to Dollywood? What made Dollywood different from simply being another theme park? If you guys ever went to Dollywood, I don't know if you guys has ever been to Dollywood, but if you ever been, you guys would you would get to definitely answer this question. If you haven't, go to Dollywood, and then maybe in the comment section you guys can answer this. But for me, I can answer it because I've been to Dollywood. Dollywood, different from simply being another theme park. Dollywood was awesome. Like, the food, my family didn't have, big money. So, I mean, we couldn't really, afford the food. But, the rides, was pretty much what we went after. I was pretty much like I said, a water park kid. Any water park ride that, Dollywood had, I would have 100% signed up for it. I'm like, ooh, let me go. Even, I was pretty much, as a kid, we call them water dogs. So going back to this question, I don't know if you guys are answering in the chat, but I will check the chat here. What made you guys think? What made you guys literally want to be a part? If you guys have ever been a part of Dollywood, what made it definitely simpler for being another theme park? You guys answer that in the chat, and I will read the comments here in the chat as I'm going along with this thing. Welcome, Iceman, Dixie, and Jasmine to the show. So you guys are in the chat here. But, to me, seeing this transpire, from a music legend, and she, running, Dollywood, buying Dollywood to make it her own, a theme park, to literally give entertainment and, something for us kids to do, when we was kids. Things that I loved about Dollywood. Dollywood's entertainment. This is something that, me as a kid, I remember seeing, and actually, me as a kid, I really didn't pay attention to much music because I was pretty much, like I said, a water dog. Pretty much all, if there was a water, roller coaster, I was pretty much first kid on board. But going back to this, they had, like I said, they had live music, theater and stage performances, seasonal entertainment, Appalachian culture, bluegrass and country influences, and family entertainment. The thing is about the rides and attraction on that, you had roller coasters, family rides, water attractions, shows, food, crafts, festivals, seasonal events, Smoky Mountain scenery. Like I said, my favorite out of all of that is the water attractions. If you guys never done the water attractions, I suggest you guys go. That was the most funnest thing as me, being a kid, and getting to actually go to Dollywood. I remember, like I said, I remember just hitting that, water attraction going up. It's going right back down. Next thing I know, splashing the water. I don't know the roller coaster's name, but it's kind of like a water log they take you on, and it's literally like a roller coaster, but you go down like a uphill, and it's really steep where you like literally you really go into it. And what I mean by into it is you really go in water. You don't go like fully in, but you hit the water so hard the water splashes and comes right to you. But rapid fire questions for this live chat is this. We're going to do roller coasters or live shows. To me, I was always a roller coaster guy. Wasn't really too big on thrill rides, family attractions, food, music. I was pretty much a roller coaster guy. I would literally get on a roller coaster and, I'd have that, I guess you could say I had that little shot of adrenaline. I loved a little bit of adrenaline. It was, the best thing ever to do at a theme park. Now, Dolly's legacy and Dollywood combined into one as a legacy. And, this becomes a deeper part of this segment. You guys can answer this, I'll leave this question up for you guys can, answer this in live chat. Like I said, I will be looking at my live chat. If you guys want to literally answer this. But going back on, the Dollywood thing, her hometown connection, Dollywood represented a continual connection to the Tennessee mountains. The entertainment it gave audience another way to experience entertainment associated with Dolly's creative world. Generations, parents can bring children. Those children can grow up and potentially bring their own families. This creates a cycle of memories. This connects directly to the theme of episode 20. A person may not remember every attraction they experienced, but they remember who they visited with, their family, their favorite show, family meal, a particular ride, hearing music, seeing the mountains, their first visit. You had business, tourism, and Dollywood brand. Tourism in the Smoky Mountain region, jobs and local economy, activity, entertainment businesses, hospitality, Dolly's entrepreneurial side, building a recognizable brand, turning a artistic career into a broad business legacy. Was Dollywood one of the Dolly Parton's greatest business decisions? And that question, yes. I'll tell you why. Because it literally made Dollywood into one of the biggest theme parks, in my opinion, in the Tennessee region. Dollywood was, like I said, it's a good theme park. If you guys never went to it. Now we get to the final Dollywood thought. We talk about Dolly Parton. It's easy to focus on the records. It's easy to talk about the awards. It's easy to talk about the famous songs. But Dollywood reminds us that Dolly's story became bigger than music. She took something connected to the mountains of East Tennessee and helped it turn into the entertainment destinations where people create their own memories of their own. And that's what makes it such a perfect part of our episode 20 conversation. Because tonight is just about music memories. And Dolly is another example of memories becoming a part of a person's life. A children visit with their family, they hear music, they see a show, they ride an attraction, they experience the mountains. Years later, they not remember every detail, but they remember being there. That's the power of experience, and that's why Dollywood belongs in the story of Dolly Parton's legacy. Now, going back on fans' questions. So I'm going to give you guys a little thing to see if you guys can actually answer this in your best terms. Out of these two songs that literally came from Dolly, which one of these two was the best songs? Was it Jolene or 9 to 5? Because to me, it is a hard pick. You know, I'm a fan of Jolene and also 9 to 5, so literally, I'd literally have to say if I'm going with either or, it has to be 9 to 5. But going back on her legacy, guys, this is something that I definitely want to share with everyone around the YouTube community and everyone around the world that remembered Dolly Parton. She was one of the best music, entertainment, and Appalachian folk tradition that literally shocked the entire world. And tonight was simply about choosing the greatness of Dolly Parton song. It was about remembering what music can mean, a song that can remind us where it came from. It can remind us of family. It can remind us where people we love, places we've been, and moments we'll never forget. Dolly Parton's music has traveled across generations because their stories inside the songs are much more than single moment in time. The rhinestones may sparkle, the stage may change, the generations may come and go, but great music never disappears. It becomes part of our memories, and when a song becomes part of someone's memories, it becomes part of their life. And that's the legacy we're celebrating tonight. Dolly Parton, the music, the memories, the songwriters, the performances, and unforgettable history. Thank you for joining us. Nitro is Dead, episode 20. We see you next time. Until then, keep the music alive, and also, God bless and rest in peace, Dolly Parton.